Ready? Now these are the names of the sons of Israel. Who's Israel? Who came to Egypt with Jacob. So what happened? Do we know that story? How did they come to Egypt with Jacob, Israel? The names of the sons of Israel who came to Egypt with Jacob. What does that mean? Came to Egypt. When did they come to Egypt with Jacob? What happened? What's the story in Genesis? Do you know? I'll give you a hint. Somebody had a dream.
Oh yeah, Joseph.
Joseph had a dream. Do you remember the dream?
He had a lot of dreams.
Couple dreams. He had a couple dreams. He had a dream that there was stalks of grain, 12 stalks, 12 bundles of grain. It was one bundle of grain, and the 11 bundles were bowing down to him. And what was the other dream? The sun, the moon, and the stars, they all bowed down to him. And what did they say? They mocked him, right? The brothers, they mocked him. Even the father says, "You think we're going to bow down to you? Are you nuts?" But what was it? Was it a true dream or a wrong dream? The true dream. He was seeing right. So what happened? How did the children of Israel end up in Egypt? Remember the story of Joseph? Selling for money. And what happened? Where did he end up? In Egypt as a slave. You imagine? Now think in your mind. Did the brothers know what they were doing? No. They were being bad, right? But who was in charge? Were the brothers in charge? No. Was Joseph in charge? Who was in charge there? Yahweh was in charge. Yahweh had to get Joseph to Egypt in order for him to save his family. And how did Joseph save his family? Remember? Remember the story? He went down to Egypt, and what happened? Good things or bad things? He basically became the right-hand man to the king. Right? He was second in command. The king had a dream, and the dream was that there's going to be a famine in the land. Nobody's going to have food. And so what did Joseph do? He tells Pharaoh what to do. For 7 years, you're going to have much. Save the grain for the bad years that are to follow. So that's what Pharaoh did. And what happened to Joseph's brothers and his father and mother? Were they starving? They were starving. There was no food. There was a famine, like the Pharaoh had the dream. And so what did they do? They went down to Egypt to do what? Ask for food. And guess who was there? What was his name? Joseph. Joseph was there. And they all bowed down to him, and he saved his whole family, all right? So now, all the children of Jacob are in the land of Egypt. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad, and Asher.
That's a lot of names.
All the persons who came from the loins of Jacob were 70 in number. How many? 70 people went down to Egypt with Jacob. Remember that. Because do you remember how many came out? Do you remember? They say 600,000 men. 600,000 men. Not including women and children. And they say if you include women and children, it's probably close to 2 million. They went down 70, and they're going to come out 2 million. Alright, so 70 in number, but Joseph was already in Egypt. Joseph died, and all his brothers and all that generation. But the sons of Israel were fruitful. What does that mean, fruitful? And increased greatly. They had a lot of babies. And they multiplied and became exceedingly mighty, so that the land was filled with the Israelites. Who's Israel? That's our people. They were in Egypt. Now a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. He said to his people, "Behold, the people of the sons of Israel are more and mightier than we are. Come, let us deal wisely with them, or else they will multiply, and in the event of war, they will also join themselves to those who hate us, and fight against us, and depart from the land." So they appointed taskmasters over them to afflict them with hard labor. They made them slaves. And they built for Pharaoh storage cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread out, so that they were in dread of the sons of Israel. The Egyptians compelled the sons of Israel to labor vigorously, and they made their lives bitter with hard labor in mortar and bricks, and at all kinds of labor in the field. All their labors which they rigorously imposed on them. They were making them work like slaves, right? Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew ladies who helped the women have children, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other was Puah. What's their name? Puah, and what was the other? Shiphrah and Puah. Puah. How'd you like to have a wife named Puah? The Puah.
Like a duck just walked out of the water like this, Papa, look.
Puah. And the king said to these women who helped ladies have babies, midwives, when you are helping the Hebrew women to give birth and see them upon the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall put him to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the king of Egypt had commanded them, but let the boys live. So they disobeyed the Pharaoh, right? So the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing and let the boys live? The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptians, for they are vigorous and gave birth before the midwives can get to them. And they make a case, the Jews make a case that this is a proof that the Bible teaches the greater good. That you can lie if it saves life.
Yeah.
Because this saved the lives of these people, this was not held against these women.
Right.
Because they were being faithful to Yahweh instead of to the Pharaoh. Now, that's an important teaching, Okay. So, Elohim was good to the midwives. People multiplied and became very mighty. Because the midwives feared Elohim, he established households for them. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who is born you are to cast into the Nile, and every daughter you are to keep alive. Why wasn't he worried about the daughters, Because they're going to be probably, if he kills all the boys, they'll just marry Egyptian men. They'll just get assimilated into Egyptian families. No longer be Hebrews. Who was cast into the Nile? Think about it. He says, every son who was born, you're to cast into the Nile. Who do we know that was cast into the Nile? Moses. How was he cast into the Nile?
And because the mom didn't want him to die from the Egyptians killing the son.
But they obeyed this command to throw him into the Nile. But what did they do? They put him in a little basket. Oh, you said casket. That's exactly true. That represented a casket for Moses, like Yeshua. And then from the water came Moses, the deliverer of Egypt, of his Israel. So, we're looking for what? What are we looking? That's chapter 1. What are we looking for? What's happening this week? Passover. So what is this representing here? What is it telling us? What was our people? Our people were what in Egypt? Slaves and being abused. Guess what Yahweh's people are being in this world? Same thing. They're like slaves. Papa got to work to give half of what he makes to the government. Did you know that?
Why?
Did you know that? If Papa makes $100, you know how much I give to the government? 50.
Why?
You know what that's called? That's called slavery. You're working for the government. You're working to pay their bills. All the nations of the world are against Messiah. Every single one of them. There's not one nation in this world that is for Messiah, Yeshua. We need to be set free We need an exodus. What do you think the name of this book means? Exodus. You ever see at the movie theater the sign, the red sign says exit? You ever see that? The red signs all over. There's a door that says exit. Another door, exit. Another door behind, exit. Behind, exit. 4 exits. What does that mean? It's a way to get out. Exit is out. You understand? So what do you think exodus means? The way to get out of what? Get out of Egypt. What do we want? You know what? A lot of people, you know what they want? They want to stay in this Egypt forever. They don't ever want to die. They would rather stay in this hell. This place called the world, called Egypt. But Yahweh's coming with his kingdom. He's going to bring us into his kingdom. This is not our home. So you guys got to be careful as you grow up, like me and Mommy, you know? We didn't know no better, but you guys know better. Don't embrace this world as your own. Don't be an Egyptian. What is a Hebrew? A Hebrew is someone who don't fit in. A Hebrew, an Israelite, is someone who doesn't make this place their home. Who wants to get where? To the exit. You understand? We don't want this place to be our home. We want to get to an exit. Why? Because it's an entrance to something else. You got to get out in order to what? Get in. You can't have both. You can't have this world and the world to come. You got to pick one. So that's what this season is. And tomorrow, or maybe later, we'll read another chapter about the birth of Moses. Amen? Amen. Thank you guys for listening. So good.
Thank you, Papa, for feeding us our daily bread.
Love you. Love you, buddy.